Welcome to Louisville Finest, a talent showcase. My name is Janice Carter, and I am thanking Troy T. Johnson, the co-producer, for inviting me to be the moderator today on a collaborative panel discussion in reference to Black male and female relationships. On our panel, I have Anthony Hamblin of 201. He's a member in a co-parenting. And Dr. Georgia Turner, she's the director of 201, Fatherhood and Families. And also I have Chelsea Ellis. She's an Amazon best-selling author of Fail to Success and an internet entrepreneur. Also Ron Triplett, who's a 201 member and also a father co-parenting. Next, we'll have Chelsea Ellis.
Yes, I'm Chelsea Ellis. Thank you so much for the introduction, Ms. Janice. As she mentioned, I'm an author of Amazon bestseller, Fail to Success, as well as I'm an online entrepreneur where I create digital products to help entrepreneurs who want to learn step by step how to create, grow, as well as market their business correctly on the internet and make multiple streams of income. So that's really what I do.
Anthony Hamblin.
Hi, I'm Anthony Hamblin. I'm a member of 201. I'm a co-father. I'm a karate instructor, manager, and I'm very interested in this relationship because we're trying to advocate more relationships with young men and women, and trying to bridge that gap between conflict. So, thank you for inviting me here.
Hello, I'm Dr. Georgia Turner. I am the director of 201 Fatherhood and Families. 201 has been in existence since 2007. I've been a member since 2005. What we've been trying to do is to keep fathers involved in the lives of their children. And the ways to do that is through co-parenting efforts and strategies. We're trying to implement strategies to keep those fathers involved and families together.
My name is Ron Triplett. I am I'm with 201 also. I'm a co-parent, and I'm also a neighborhood community councilman at Eugene Park Duval. I'm a father of 4, 2 girls and 2 boys, and I have a strong passion for co-parenting and trying to bridge the gap with young men and women as well to try to help get these issues resolved with family issues.
Okay, the discussion for a consciousness effort to look at tools using all sorts of media and film and support is the advocacy of Troy Johnson as the co-producer and hosting of the Louisville Finest, a talent showcase, along with the producer. What we're going to attempt to do today is to share more information and opportunities of getting some conflict analysis, information to see what's going on in the different areas of the community. There's all kind of organizations. We know that there is conflict. And like we say, we use media. I use like my book with a lot of conflict styles in there, whether it be relationships and ebooks, and collaborate with other organizations like Dr. Turner and 201. And we're just looking to get more information and a consciousness in the community about it. With the climate of our country, and you look at relationships, everything that I researched, it was talking about Obama and Cheryl, about that family model. But everyone is not that fortunate. Now, we looked at, Obama's wife had a father in the house, but he didn't. So one of the questions I was looking at in some of the research, they seem to think that the model of the family, that to keep black men and women together starts at home, and the position taken was that type of role model. I'd like to get some feedback on what you think about that.
I know I personally grew up in a household with both parents in that, so it did give me a strong view on how relationships should be ran. I don't ever really remember my parents getting in arguments around me or my siblings or, anything that didn't seem unhealthy. So with me interacting with other people, whether it's the opposite sex or whoever it is in my life, I try to be very positive and have a good interaction with them because I was taught that way. I had that example, so I think it does play a big part in it.
Where we go?
Okay.
Mr. Rand?
Yeah, I think it does play a big part. I was unfortunate. I didn't grow up with, a father in the home. So I didn't have that luxury of seeing how a mother and a father interact. I did have the luxury of seeing, other men, for example, of the church, and I seen that. It was bad that I happened to see it in my later, when I was in my 20s, and I didn't get to see it at a young age. I think it kind of maybe helped in some, relationships I had problems with. But I think the male or seeing that strong family bond really helps. And, you can see it when, you see other people, other men, and they have problems growing up because they don't have that father, that strong family structure. So I think it does play a big role in family structure.
Dr. Turner, your position?
Well, for me, I didn't have the opportunity of having a father in my home. I've never known my father. And that is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about working with fathers and keeping them involved in the lives of their children. I grew up in a single parent home. I'm the oldest of four. My mom did not finish school, high school, I should say. And I remember growing up with my stepfather. And role model, it was not. My mother took care of the family. She took care of him, and he did not take care of her. So when I grew up and started dating and looking at the man that I wanted to spend my life with, I had no idea who he would be. And so when I started making some of those decisions, they were not the best decisions. So I didn't have that role model, and nor did I see it in my family. We do not have a strong structure or a strong foundation of men taking care of our families. So that's why I believe that fathers need to be involved in the lives of their children.
And getting back to Chelsea's point, in all different angles or whatever, but you still fell into success. And she's told you her story. And this is what the Black media collaboration is about, is using the media to show our stories and tell our sides. And that still we're getting through. Mm-hmm. Have failure. It's normal, it's natural, like conflict. But you're getting through. This is Dr. Georgia Turner, and she's taken that pain and transform it into helping others. So next we'll have Ron. Tell us your situation.
I grew up, it was basically a position where my father was in and out of the household. He was a struggling alcoholic, and he died when I was 14. So my mom had to carry the load, and she did a good job, but it was pretty hard on her with 4 kids trying to parent. And I vowed to really never put my kids in that situation. But it was a struggle, and I had to learn as I went. And it can be devastating not to have a solid role model in your home throughout your life.
That seems to be the theme and supports the position of 201. If y'all haven't gotten any information on their organization, they are supporting fathers, and they do a picnic every year to support the fathers and have something for the children to do. Because sometimes we know that resources and economics becomes a problem. And just a little bit about me, I had both parents in my family. However, my father was an alcoholic. But that was contributed to when he was in the war. But before he went, he drank nothing but milk, my mom said. But of course, the whole family has to deal with that, going through that drama, and how it affects the family economically and so forth. So we're talking a little bit about economics and how that can just kind of fracture the family and cause conflict between the male, female in the home. Another article I read, they were saying, are relationships between Black men and women crippled by economics? For you all to kind of think on that and give a feedback. I know, like I said, it was hard when you were waiting for the paycheck at the end of the week and there was no paycheck because the alcoholic had drank the monies up. But however, we had a very strong extended family which kept us together, which I've seen that's fractured. we don't no longer have that in the community. So if you kind of got strong family that help you get through. So what do you think about the economics? And another variable inside of that, when you have women that seem to be getting their college educations or starting businesses, that seems to be a wedge between the male-female relationships on that. For men, not politically correct to be the breadwinner, and how do you feel about that? How are you managing your relationships with that?
I think on your first question that you asked, to touch on that a little bit, I know being younger, I'm only 20 years old, so I pay attention to people older than me to try to get wisdom from them. And one thing I've noticed that I've always said I wanted to do is make sure that I'm making my own income to take care of myself before I get into a relationship. I didn't really want to ever get in a relationship where I feel like I, need someone to take care of me. And I think that's something that a lot of women and men, we need to focus on doing that, because like you said, we can get in relationships before we're able to take care of ourselves, and then we depend on that person for economics, and like you said, can put a hardship on the relationship, when really you should be able to depend on yourself and have that person there to help you. So personally, that's kind of how I view that situation.
And the position about you being a business owner or making more money, do you
Yes.
see that in your conflicts with relationships?
Definitely. I read a book actually once, a relationship book called Broken Pillars by someone I actually interviewed named Mitchell Chance. And he spoke about that because he canceled men. And there was a guy that he canceled, and he mentioned how his girlfriend made more money than him. And really, for a woman, it probably doesn't really mean that big of a deal to us, but to him, it meant a big deal. But the counselor, Mitchell told him, maybe you have to focus on something else. She might not need you financially, but maybe she needs you spiritually. Maybe you can help her in that area to where you will mean a lot to her, to where, financially, it doesn't matter because she has that taken care of. But in a different area, you can mean a lot. So that's one thing. Reading that definitely touched me, because I might not need a man financially, but he can help me in other areas of my life, whether it's physically, maybe he can help me to be a stronger person, or mentally, or whatever it may be. So
And you bring that energy of the synergy of the yin and the yang into the room.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Your thoughts?
Well, for me, I grew up with my mother. I grew up with a strong mother figure. She, my mother. I remember one time she worked 3 jobs, and to help us and to raise us. So so strong women. I'm really attracted to strong women because that's what I grew up with. The part about I know me being a man. And me being the area that I grew in, the man being the breadwinner, he's taking care of his family. That's still very important to me, because if I was dating a woman that was making much more than me, that wouldn't be a problem, as long as finance is not the only thing we are about. If we're about a relationship and she makes more than me, that's okay, because maybe I can take her, and like she talked about, in another way besides finances. But being a man, as a man, the man should be the head of the household. He should be the one taking care of everything. And if the situation that he's not, maybe he can take care of something in another capacity instead of finances.
I'm like you. I grew up, my mom had to, once she finally split from my stepfather, she had to take care of us. And I remember her going out and a foot of snow to catch the bus to go out to GE before they laid her off, And I noticed how, as she progressed, the economic situation that she went through, we grew up in the projects. We had to basically try to make ends meet the best way we knew how. However, when it came to relationships for me, I know I started out, she spoke on independence. I started out at 17. My mom was on welfare. I said to myself, who's going to take care of me? That my medical insurance, who's gonna provide medical coverage for me? Because once I turned 18, that's it. So I had to look at all of that. So I grew up just always being that responsible one. I didn't get a chance to be a teenager and do the things that teenagers do and have those relationships. So when I invited someone in my life, it wasn't really where I really had time to see what that relationship really looked like. But when we talk about economics and in current day relationships, that's very difficult sometimes. And especially with my status, I have a doctorate degree, but that's not who I am. And a lot of times when I meet men, I have to hear Dr. Turner, Dr. Turner. And I'm thinking, it's still Georgia. I appreciate that you recognize that I did get my education, but it's more to Georgia than just a doctorate degree and how much money I make. I come from the housing industry. I worked for the Housing Authority for 13 years, then I worked for federal government, and now I'm the director of 201. But it's always been that I've had to be independent because, as I mentioned before, I did not have good relationships. I've been married twice, and I don't mind sharing this. The first husband was abusive. I mean, just would hit me at the drop of a hat. Had to go to work with black eyes. I went through that. And it was very difficult. You know, we talked to women about leaving these men and getting away from it. I didn't even have children with him, but he was still my husband. I thought he would change. But the point that I'm trying to make is when it comes to relationships and what you know, how you start and your role models at home, you think you're supposed to take things and deal with certain situations that you really shouldn't have to. And I thank God that I was able to get out of that. And I think it was part of that independence that we speak on. But sometimes being too independent, that can also cause you problems in relationships. So it's a lot of variables to what we're speaking on today.
My situation is, I heard the term breadwinner, and I've got 4 kids by 3 different women. So I made my own bed. I had to sleep in it. And I took pride in paying child support. And it was pretty rough. It still is, but I made my own bed. So me being head of household, that's like out of the question. So it would take a lot for a woman to try to really have a real relationship, because I'm coming in top heavy, but I made that choice by having kids out of wedlock. So the economic part of the head of household can be quite challenging for a male that has a lot of kids, and that's what you run into, a lot of conflict with trying to take care of your kids and then trying to manage a household that you're claiming to be head of, and it can be quite challenging. And that's a lot of times that's what we're faced with. These guys are bouncing from job to job and going through a lot because it's a lot, but it's a choice.
Can I say something? Well, when we speak to a head of household, I don't always think that it's about economics. It is about
You're exactly
basically
right.
how you decide to run your house. And you know, I'm a firm believer, and even with dealing with fathers, sometimes they don't have the same resources that woman has. But it does not make him less than a man when he's running that house. And it depends on how he's running the family or managing his family, taking care of them, the trust level. I'm one of those women, many people don't know this, but I'm one of those women that I will step back and let a man run. I'm so tired of running everything and taking care of everything. I would, but he still has to come correct. He has to come from a good place. I won't get into all the different variables, but he has to come from a place where he is ready to run that house and ready to be a husband or a father to his children. And when you're coming from that place and you can demonstrate that that's what you want to do and you believe in your family and no matter what, you got your family's back, yes, I can step back and let him, I can make all the money, but I can let him run his house.
One interjection.
I'm a little confused. Co-parenting, because I know 3 young men, my nephew included, that is co-parents. He has kids Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She has the 2 mothers have them the other days of the week. He pays no child support. Then I know 2 other younger men that are co-parenting. It was a 12-hour shifts, and so co-parenting, I thought no child support because they have a child the equal number of times. That seems to
let me interject on that because we could go off into something, and then you get into legal. It's whatever system that they agree with to negotiation through the court system, or some of them even co-parent out of the court system, that they just have that kind of healthy relationship with their children. So it's going to be based on, too, individually. Everybody at this table and in this room is experiencing things from a different perspective, and the culture that you're in and how they have that system set up. That's the other thing about male-female relationships, too. Like I said, we could go on all day about that. The relationship culture. Are you identical cultures when you're coming together? Because most of the conflicts start on the belief systems. You cannot change a person. And I know from my personal experience at 20 when you get married, he was trying to change me and I was trying to change him. But what was happening is, like everyone said at this panel, what I saw in my culture at home, my subculture, I thought it was supposed to be that way. And then sometimes what we do is we assume. We have a spiritual side of us, and if you assume, well, they go to church, so they must have a spiritual side. But however, if you're a type of person, your energy and your synergy are just being yourself, and that's one piece that they can't share with you. I mean, they have a practice that could cause a rub or a conflict. But most important, we have to listen to each other and figure that out. I had another book, this book I just got when I went to the conference, Don't Get Married If. Well, and here it talks about that if you don't have a plan. And a lot of times they don't have a plan. And what's the reason why you are getting married? And I think I jotted down some of the questions. And she's got it all spiritually based, where you can find it in the Word. But then if you connect with someone that's not really, like she was saying, feeling it or coming right, you hear some of this different lingo. It was, are you 100% sure right about your decision when you're going to marry somebody? Then you ask yourself, are you in love? I knew at 20, I think we were trying to figure out what that was, right? We don't talk, and I had a conversation with some folks. We, think we're doing the right thing. We come up in church, but they never tell us about hormones and all this other stuff. So we're just like failing into success to wherever we end up. You're not ready for yourself yet. And how are you going to be ready for a mate? Do you really know yourself? The thing about what I study, conflict resolution, in my background, I come from working in conflict. I'm retired 14 years from the police department. That's all we got all day. I ran the center. What do you need? Police, fire, EMS. Goes on and on and on. But you think it's on the outside. But no, you got to start with conflict resolution with yourself and knowing your styles. And that's what I put a model together. We understand, I took a business model because it was in business, and I thought, well, you got to sustain your business or you're going to go broke. I go, you got to sustain your relationship. So they use a SWOT model, the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I said, okay, so if you find that with each other, not even just with your mate, but with your children. Because with Two Not One, we're also having to deal with children being hurt, harmed, that syndrome of shaking them, because if you're looking through the eyes of that child that looks just like you, and that one's wonderful, and you get along with that one, and you've got a conflict with your child to even shake them, because you don't realize that's me, and allow other people to be who they are. And so I take, you see your strengths, weaknesses, and threats, and that's of the other person you're interacting with, and you're negotiating all day long whether you know it or not. And if you're in a relationship, are you in a relationship with somebody that competes with you all the time? Or do they compromise? But a lot of people just easy, get along, but inside they're churning because they're not getting any of their needs met, and you're getting your needs met. And like I said, how we were brought up, where the parents told us how about getting married, take care of your husband, he's going to take care of you. All those models are gone. You're seeing, we're having marriages, they're just not even male, female. We're having all kind of new models. And then the other styles in conflict is a collaboration or avoidance. I know my style. I love to collaborate. Everybody will get something out of it. If it's not worth my energy and time, I will just remove myself. But what people need to understand too is the difference between a conflict and the difference between a dispute. If I'm never going to see you again, I stepped on your foot, oh, you got upset, we had a dispute. But if you're my sister and I gotta go home, we're gonna be fighting, we got a conflict. Or if that's your husband, those are interdependent relationships. And this is what we're talking about from if you're married, been married, not married. But I say if somebody would have told us. So with that, some of the other things, have you grown up yet? Do you get along with people? Do you get along with the family? Do you argue all the time? Why is it that we see these signs, but we go ahead and get married and do it anyway? Because we think they're going to change. And they're thinking, you're going to change. The biggest thing is, like I said, that belief system. You're not going to have people change their belief system. Because if in that mother's house, she had these expectations that the father washed her feet every day, and you don't want to do it, that's what she believed, because that's who she saw. When people receive information and wire themselves up from who they trusted, and you don't have a vision and plan for marriage, and I would say, man, we need to be really advocating and teaching that to community and our families. I was listening to a doctor. If you can't be faithful, we don't get into the other variable. There's some chemical things going on with all of us, and there has some tests been shown that people, it just is what it is. They're not going to change.